entertainment, insights. Don't take life too seriously. Welcome to Brainsky Unleashed. I am so pleased and honored to have today's guest on my show. This is a person, he runs a company called Proven Chaos, kind of a cool name. He's a business coaching type of individual. He has massive goals that have a global impact that I absolutely respect. It was an honor to be able to spend some time with him, and I hope you enjoy what he has to say. He's a guy who's run multiple companies in multiple different sectors and made lots of money and has learned the hard way how to make sure that you live your life instead of letting your life run you into the ground. So I'm so glad to have with us Jerry McNamara. Welcome, Jerry, to the show. I'm so happy to have you on. You and I have spoken in the past and kind of done some pre-interview stuff, and I kind of love your energy and I love where you're going. And I thought we might as well share this with the world. We've got to change the world, Jerry. You and me, we can do this. So, Jerry,
Thomas, thank you for having me. First of all, let me just cut you off for half a second.
Cut me off, Jerry.
I'm going to do it. You have the greatest last name, and maybe it's because I'm a nerd and I wish that was my last name, that people would have to refer to me as Brainsky. I just think it's fabulous.
I would take your last name, but Jerry McNamara, by the way, is your last name, right? So I would take that because you can get away with Jerry Mac. See, I could pull a Tommy Mac. You know what I'm saying? But you can't do that. I mean, yeah, I get like Tommy Brains, which, you know, or Brainsky. I find, and I've had this conversation with some of my other partners in business and stuff. You know, they're like, what would you want to, brand yourself, right? I'm like, the problem with Brainsky is that it falls off the tongue like a mouthful of Legos, But I appreciate the compliment. Thank you.
I love it. Let's dig in. What are we going to talk about today?
So let's talk about you, and we'll start with Proven Chaos, which is your gig. And you say you are on a mission, and it's right there, which is awesome, to positively impact 5 million people in the next 4 years. Now, you could have picked 5 years, you could have picked 8 years, but you picked 4. So I really want to pick this apart. What are you doing, Jerry?
I love it. So it was 5, but I'm 1 year into the mission. So I changed the background. Yeah. So, I've been super lucky that I've been in the right place at the right time with the right people and the right opportunity. And companies that I've led 5 companies in 5 different industries, B2B, B2C. We've sold products, we've sold services. Right? Is this whole notion that you can create a compelling company and still be a great place to work. And that's my goal in the second half of my career is how do we help leaders show up in a really authentic way to be really clear about the vision, the mission that we're on, the impact that we want to go make, the values that we have, which is really the operating system, the agreements that we have between the two of us to create rocket ships that we can go on that are super fun and super successful.
You're all about the culture.
Amen.
All right.
I mean, it's way easier to lead when people are aligned, right? I think about this all the time. I think the highest purpose of life is to align your life on your terms. So your vision, your values, and your actions create alignment. You stand up a little bit straighter and you feel happy. Even when it doesn't work out exactly the way you wanted, you're at least living your life on your terms. And, Amanda Holmes and I talk about this, and it's part of her 13th chapter in the revised Ultimate Sales Machine Edition, which is, I say it a little bit differently than she does, but, the title of that chapter is How to Live a Rich and Full Life. What I say is if we become financially wealthy and emotionally bankrupt, we've lost the game. You don't understand what the rules of the game are. And so, when the cost you're paying to get back the price that you're trying to achieve, you're going bankrupt. I don't care what business or industry or anything that you're in, you have to understand what that trade is. And so when I see high growth companies, and I've been lucky enough to be on a couple of them, right? Made the franchise 500, maybe 500 a couple times with different businesses. If you don't really sit and think about the business that you're trying to create, bring conscious intention to it, you can end up on a hospital grid. I'll tell you my story. At 26, I was running a business that went from 5.9 million to 15 million in 18 months. It was a real rocket ship. We were having a great time. I was flying all over the country. And we were raising venture capital because we wanted to expand what it was that we were doing. And I ended up starting to sleep on the couch outside of my office. And at 26, that was a badge of honor to be like, yeah, I was here all night last night working through it. And now I recognize at 48, that was a badge of stupidity, not a badge of honor. And on Valentine's Day, I thought I was having a heart attack. And I remember laying on the hospital gurney with the electrodes hooked up to me. And I was counting the dots in the ceiling tile, those industrial ceiling tiles. And I just thought to myself, what have you done? All of the price of like the ego and all the exposure came at the cost of my health. And you know what I couldn't do? I couldn't help anyone in my business laying on that hospital gurney. And so I think they're right when you look at airplanes and they tell you, put on your own oxygen mask first before you try and go help other people. And so that's really the pieces that I think about in what's a good, rich, and full life. You better have alignment and conscious intention to what it is that you're doing.
Okay. So number one, because I agree with you completely. Number one, I have to ask, how many holes did you count in that ceiling tile? Do you have a number? Do you remember the number, Jerry?
I don't remember the number, but
I'm disappointed.
But it's because I kept on getting distracted, looking over at the machine, the EKG or whatever, ECG, whatever that thing is.
Telling you that you're alive?
And thinking to myself, is this really going to be the end? Is this how I'm going to die? Because this is crazy. And yeah, I just think it's a good reminder. I don't know about you, but I have encountered so many entrepreneurs that think, oh, well, if I just work 10 more hours, I'll get past this little blip.
It's not, it's a lie.
You can outwork scale. The only way you can catch scale, at least that I found, is 3 ways: better systems and process, better technology. And then once you've optimized, sometimes you need more humans.
Yes.
You cannot outwork scale. And so this whole notion of like getting regrounded in your life on your terms, what happens is sometimes people tell us, you need more and you need it now. And then you end up start living your life on other people's terms instead of your own terms. You know who gets disillusioned in that? Everyone. Because you are going to be disappointed that you're giving up all these things. You give up your hobbies. You don't listen to podcasts. You don't go out to dinner with your wife. And it's like, yeah, is this really the life that I want? I don't think so.
Only to look at your balance sheet at the end of the year and go, well, okay. I agree with you. So based on the fact that, and you're right, there's a lot of dishonesty, frankly, with oneself, and, the whole team doesn't win. So taking that, let's kind of pull back a little bit and let's just, play a hypothetical. So what would you tell, say, an auto shop owner, as far as, they come to you and they say, listen, you've impacted X amount of million people in the last year. I want to be on the list. How can that guy be impacted? What advice would you give him? Say, what is one thing that he should do right off the bat to just hit pause and make his life better?
So the first question that I ask any entrepreneur is, what do you want the business to do for you? Because we're always taught you have to be a slave to your business. You have to work for the business. You have to do all of these things. It's true, right? You are going to work because you have a vested interest in all of these things. However, if you don't stop and think, what's the return? What's the return on investment? If I do these things, capital, time, stress, whatever those things are, then you will become disillusioned by your business. You will start to resent your business. And so if you want to have a lot of fun and create that compelling company, you have to first determine, what's the business that I want to go create? And I'll give you an example. I work with a construction business. It's a husband and wife team, extraordinary people. One of the things that they said to me was, we don't want to become the biggest and best construction business out there. What we want to be is operationally excellent in a stress-free environment where our customers love us. And so that's what we've done. We've created that over the last 18 months where we have that alignment. And you know what? Their customers love them. They've never been less stressed in their whole life, and we focus in on their systems. And so their people are running their business. They are running the business for the people. And it's amazing to watch when you do that. But it's just when you get that clarity, when you get those intentions in place, then you have a shot at really having a positive impact, not only for yourself, for your family, but for those people around you.
So what you're saying is you want to set the vision for what you want to accomplish versus going to work every day and seeing what happens.
That's right. If you go spin the plates, you're gonna lose some plates along the way. And I've developed over time, when I think about great businesses, there's three parts of every great business. One is we need great people. So I've built a framework around the 9 principles of personal performance. It's how someone lives a great, fulfilled, performance-driven life. So that's the foundation, nine people. Great. And then we have to operate our business on a model. And so what I've learned in running my own businesses and now helping and advising over 100 other ones is I have the business acceleration model. And so the foundation of that model is your vision, your values, and your resources, right? Because your resources aren't just your intellectual capital and your financial, it's everything. It's your network. It's everything that's around. And so you have to literally start with, where are we going and how am I going to feel good that when I get there, I didn't act adversely in the values of how I want to feel at the end of this? Because I don't know about you, if you've ever made a decision and you've been like, yeah, that's not how I want to show up, right? I think bad that, and you leave a little pit in your stomach. Well, that's because your values, you've done something that are against your values. And so when we're really explicit on here's the impact, here are the values, and we can align our actions to it, it's way more fun. So yes, I am culture driven, and that's because of it. That's the foundation of every great business. Because if I want to invite you in to my company, I don't hire people, I invite people in, right? I think about that. There's only 3 ways to create a compelling company. One is someone aligns with the vision of the company. Yes, that's the impact that I want to go make. The second is they align with your values. That's how I want to treat people and how I want to be treated. And the third is they love their position inside the company. So they may say, I love sales, but I really love B2B SaaS sales. And here's the magic. If you align on those 3 things, if you get all 3 of them right in every position, that's how you create rocket ships. And that all comes back to alignment and culture.
So I'm going to go a different direction. And that is, let's say, imagine, because I know I've certainly experienced this in my life. You need those 3 things, right? Those 3 things that need to align. What should a business owner do if only maybe one or none of those align after the employee's been hired? How quickly will you excise that employee?
I think we look and say, what is the problem this person has been brought in to solve for us? Because when you look and say, oh, we need someone, you're saying, I have a problem that I need someone else to solve for me. And so I would say in any case, right, we hire for competence, but we fire for values misalignment. And so that's the first place that it's going to show up is values misalignment, because someone who makes mistakes, we're going to train them. We're going to give some prudence in the ability for them to get forward, because again, we hired for competence. So we think they can do it. We just may have not trained them. And as far as someone's exact joy in their position, that's a personal thing for them, right? As long as they're in sales, they may say, oh, it's okay. I prefer to be in B2B SaaS sales. But my experience is that if that's where they really want to be, that you will lose them over time. And so you can be a compelling company for an individual, for an employee, if you hit any one of those 3 things for the individual. Because they'll go like, I don't care, how we act. I'm so compelled by the mission that we're on. I don't care what role I fill. I'm so compelled by the mission, or vice versa. But when you get all 3,
you have magic.
That's when you have magic. That's when the rocket ship happened. And that's that. But you can't have that if I haven't clearly defined my vision. I haven't clearly defined my values. And position, we hire people to be in their unique zone of genius. don't believe that people can be world-class if they don't love the work that they're doing. And that's something where I come
agree.
back to.
I agree. And, having been in a position where I've had hires where I was not clear, or hired people who did not necessarily agree with the mission. I didn't even know what the mission was at times. That's a fun one.
It's more common than you think.
No, it's a real thing.
I mean, imagine if I asked you, hey, I'm going to go on this great adventure. Thomas, come on, this is going to be amazing. And for me, I love the beach. So we're going to go to the beach, and you might be a skier. And so you're super disappointed because you thought we were going to the mountains. That's what a big adventure means to you. So if we don't create that clarity for people, you're going to have mismatched expectations. And the genesis of all conflict is a disjoint in expectations. That's why you need to be clear. We can just come back, breathe a little woosah, and say, have I been clear? So before we get frustrated with employees, because I always say this, no one shows up to work thinking, you know what, I really want to suck today. And yet there's plenty of people that are ineffective. It's not their fault. It's our fault as the senior leaders. We haven't created that level of clarity that we need for people across our organization, because I think at the heart of parts, the number one thing that we need to do as a leader inside our organizations is to create a predictable and fertile environment for people to make engaged, agile, and autonomous decisions in pursuit of the company's objectives. The only way we can do that is if we're clear on our vision, we're clear on our values, we're clear on our quarterly objectives. Then we can drive decision-making down to the front lines where the people who actually do the work and can make an impact can go do their work and make an impact. And you know what our gift as senior leaders is? It's way easier to lead. It's way easier to lead.
And amen to that.
That's way more fun.
Amen to that. I got a very close friend of mine who's currently suffering in corporate America. He's lacking the support, lacking the autonomous. I love the fact that you use that word. He's lacking autonomy. He's a go-getter. I mean, the guy is an absolute go-getter. He knows how to get things done. And, he's under leadership, which is, I think, just absolute garbage. And I see this a lot, and it's unfortunate that a lot of business owners and or corporate leaders, for that matter, have this incomprehensible ability to stifle people.
Yes.
And not give up some control. Now, I do like what you said about making sure that everything is clearly spelled out, where the mission is spelled out, and the direction is set. And so you can follow that along with processes to do it. So everything is clean and cut and dry. And then you can release the hounds. They're going to go get it. I think a major weakness with most businesses and large corporations for that matter is that's not there. Not all the components are there. So you've at least identified one thing that any business owner should do, and that's figure out, where do you want to go? What is this supposed to do for you? What is the next thing that one should figure out and be able to clearly define in order to make sure that this is possible?
I think where leadership goes wrong, and when you really think about who gets promoted, it's people who are great at doing the doing. Doesn't mean that they're great at leading people. And so, when I think about the gap between high performers and the business model, that's the leadership gap, it's us. And so we need to do the work, the deep internal reflections of how am I going to show up for my people? And so, you can take people through an exercise of what are their own personal values? Yeah, there's the company values, but what are my own personal values? And if you are the founder entrepreneur, it is way easier for you to install the values at the get-go of the company versus at employee 20. Because at employee 20, we already have a personality and a culture inside the business. Now it can't just be your total alignment. It's got to be the group. So,
you got to work backwards at that point to clean up that mess. I've done that. I've been that guy. I get that. So it's very difficult.
Absolutely. And so when we start thinking about how we're going to show up for our people, if that takes deep reflection. And there are times in my career where I've been doing that. That's not the way that I want to show up for my people. And you sometimes have to look back into your life and say, that thing happened to me. And I call it giving little Jerry Jr. a hug. Hey, we acknowledge that thing happened, but it's not serving you. And that's not how you want to show up today. And so when your thoughts, your feelings, or your actions aren't serving you, you have to change it because you're the only one that can. And so walking through that process of deep self-reflection, of understanding, man, this trauma is creating a person where I have to be dictatorial in my approach. And so I just have to be into a spot of saying, here's how I'm going to show up. I mean, I even take people through a process, Thomas, where, you think about phones and computers and televisions. We have user manuals for all of them. And yet we don't have user manuals as human beings. So imagine the process of day one. Instead of you trying to figure out what our relationship's going to look like, the things that make me tick, the best times to talk to me about creative ideas, I just hand you a 2-page document that says, here's everything. Here's what lights my soul on fire. Here's the things that piss me off. And we give people the user manual. Instead of giving them 90 days to continue to give the test, we give them the answers on day one. Wouldn't that be way easier? I think that's way more fun. And you're going to accelerate your performance way faster.
So when you say you're giving the user manual, is that the user manual for yourself personally, as far as meeting Jerry's expectations, as Jerry is the owner of the company, right? Am I getting that correct, or am I missing that?
No, you have that correct. Now imagine you have your whole leadership team do it. You have all of your employees do it. And imagine that when they walk in with their team, they get 12 personal user manuals to know, I don't know, I'll give you an example from mine. I'm really great at second stage ideas. I want you to kick the tires and think about something. I'm not your first line of original thought, like banging away on an idea. Why? Because I want to save my creative energy for ideas that are real. And so I tell people, I'm your second stage idea guy. I'm not your first stage kick the tire guy. And so I tell people, have you already thought about this? No, I haven't. Go back and think about it. Do some work on your side, because I can't have you steal my creative energy when I'm going to need it down in the future for the company.
I'm glad you said that, because creative energy is a thing. And I don't think enough people recognize the importance of it, or how there may seem like an abundance of it, but that energy can burn down very quickly. And so it should be rationed, frankly, because you can have limits to that creative energy. And once that energy is spent and creativity drops, that's not a good thing at all. So I kind of like what you said, even just in terms of how people should at least approach you. I think it's a good piece of advice. So if a business owner is listening to this, as they should, because why wouldn't they listen to my podcast? I mean, hello, it's a no-brainer. You're on, for goodness sake. I mean, this is what quality is all about. So as long as very intelligent business owners are listening to this, what would you say would be like 5 data points about oneself that you should be able to put into that manual to be highly effective for the rest of the team?
Really, really good. I will, as a gift to you, Thomas.
Oh boy, here we go.
I will share with your audience the personal user manual worksheet that takes them through everything from, here's the best way to communicate with me. For instance, I get up at 4 o'clock. If you want to start texting me at 4 o'clock, feel free. I'm going to respond. But if you text me after 8 o'clock, you're not going to get a response until 4 a.m. Right? So I just let people know that right off the bat. I don't know about you, but I've never built a world-class relationship yelling at someone. So guess what I don't do? I don't yell. Even when I'm upset, I'm not going to yell. I'm going to ask lots of questions. And so there's sections of it, like, when's the best time to approach me? How do I think about problems? What's my communication style? Here are my values. Here are things that I value. For instance, I don't know, my favorite song. That's A Crazy Game of Poker by OAR. I listen to it every morning on the way to the gym.
Are you kidding me?
What I do every morning. And so I'm a guy of routine. I'm a big believer in the morning routine. To your point, creativity is a finite resource. So is decision making,
Mhm.
which is why if we operate organizations with vision, values, and frameworks, I don't know, do you have a framework on how you guys make decisions? Do you have a hiring framework? Do you have a compensation philosophy? Like all of those things are one-time lifts
Yes.
that allow other people to operate in their unique ability without borrowing your brain. So is it heavy lift? Yeah, absolutely. But I'm a big believer in routine, specifically the morning routine, because it primes the pump to performance for me to walk into the day knowing that I've already done the work to set my people up for success, that they have the tools, time, and training to be successful, that I've hired talented people who are tenacious and are going to get things to the finish line. So I have to make sure that I've done my work in the morning, which is getting up early, drinking water, exercising, reading, writing, thinking, praying, meditating, all of those things. Some people are like, oh, that sounds, sounds like a lot. Well, no, it doesn't. It doesn't have to be a long time, but that's how I get my mind. That's how I prime the pump so that when I walk in to serve my people, I am ready to perform. And my creativity is at an all-time high, and my decision-making capacity is at an all-time high. And that's how I serve my people.
So I'm gonna switch gears from, because you've spent a lot of time focusing more on the leader, right? On what it takes, leadership roles, top down, how to be highly effective. And I think you've actually produced excellent content on this podcast, and I thank you for that. But now I want to ask you, what advice would you give to the overachiever who's currently new in the career, wants to grow, wants to be the best that they can be? What would you tell them? Because obviously they're not at the top of the chain yet, but they really want to get up there. What would you tell them?
I would tell you, I think curiosity is the most important aspect of success. Once we have a belief, we stop learning because we have a belief. And so when I think about my career, in fact, the first working title for the 9 Principles of Personal Performance was the Prepared Opportunist. Because if you look at my career, I've been in 5 industries, 5 different businesses. I've never been the technical leader. But you know what I've learned? I lead people. I don't have to be the technical leader, but I also, you can't see it, but there are hundreds of books around me, Thomas. I am a lifelong learner, and I believe that you can accelerate your business past everyone, including your coworkers. So if you want to get the promotion, you have to build and grow your skills at a faster rate than everyone else. Then you can solve bigger problems. And when I think about businesses can grow exponentially, right? You can go exponential growth. But when you think about people's skills, they grow linearly. Because I can only watch one video at a time, read a book at a time. I try and read like 5 or 6 at a time. But you're going to grow your skills linearly. The only way you can continue to level up your baseline of skills is by borrowing other people's perspectives, by doing the learning, by having conversations like this, by networking, going to conferences, present at conferences, be the thought leader, put yourself out there. And so the number one thing that I will tell you is be intellectually curious and a lifelong learner. It will never let you down.
And I'm gonna kind of piggyback on that by giving that particular advice a do not do.
Sure.
And so I think that you're absolutely right. I know you're absolutely right in that respect. But if I was to offer advice to someone piggybacking off of that, it would be, do not wait and expect for your employer to make you better.
Totally. You have to be a
Too many people do that.
Career.
Too many people do that. And to me, I think they get stuck in a rut. I've seen highly talented, highly intelligent people who don't go home and break out a book or listen to a podcast or do things. And it becomes tragic because you see beautiful minds wasted because, well, they're not being compensated for their time in educating themselves. And I think that is such a mistake. And I see too many people making that mistake. It's a horrible mistake.
I'll give you an example because I love frameworks. So I have another one that I use. It's called the next step, and it charts where we are and where we want to go. And then it says, okay, what books do we need to read? What podcasts do we need to listen to? What certifications might we need? What trade shows or conferences are we going to go to? Where are we going to present? And it maps that out in a 12-month schedule. And we are going to build specific skills, whether you're an operations officer, because I use this when someone I work with wanted to make the jump from VP to COO. And the only person that thought they weren't ready was him. But we mapped this out so that he would get to a place of confident competence. But this is not hard. Here's where I am today. Let's ruthlessly assess my skills. And here's the position that I want to get to. What's my journey to do that? And I just would never leave. I don't leave success to chance in anything that I do, particularly in business. So if I want to create this outcome, then I just map it backwards. What are all the things that I need to implement inside my business, inside of my people, to make sure that we are executing? And someone at the end of this says, man, Thomas, I had the greatest experience with your company. I can't imagine working with anyone else. And I'd like to refer you to 10 other people who could benefit from what it is that you're doing. That's when the magic happens. All of that. But yeah, I think about this all the time, and I say this all the time. The most successful people I know, they take action differently. Wait, to me, is the only 4-letter word in business. I don't give a hoot about all the F's and S's and all of that. Give me the W. That's the problem. When you say, oh, I'm waiting for this. Oh, I have to wait. No, you don't. Go create what you want to go create. Otherwise, you're going to be 75 laying on your hospital, deathbed and thinking, man, I wish. That to me is the regret. That to me is the place where I don't ever want to get to. I want to take my swings in life. I think I'm only here once. And that's what I owe to myself. That's what I owe to my family, to my kids, to the community. And it's why I'm on a mission to positively impact 5 million people, because I believe in my heart of hearts, that's what I'm supposed to do here on this earth.
And I hope that you have impacted more than just me today. I couldn't agree with you more. I've never looked at the word wait as a 4-letter word, albeit it does contain 4 letters. But I think that you're right. I think far too many people do. They wait for circumstances to be that may never be, and they miss out on everything that is possible. It doesn't necessarily mean that whatever action you take is going to end up fantastic. A lot of times you may be jumping right from one fire into another, but at least you've made the jump and you can see that there may be circumstances now that may open up another door for you that you couldn't have seen before. Even before our call, we were talking about, some of that. And I like the way that you put that, Jerry. I think that waiting is a sin,
Yes.
and I think that's a really excellent takeaway. Now, as far as your ability to impact people, you've made it a mission. You have stated that mission. Hopefully you have done that today. Hopefully there are more people that are on the list. And I thank you for giving us this gift, and it will be posted with the podcast as far as the ability to download and use that gift. What would be one thing that you wish most people would take away from just hearing you speak today? What is that one lesson that you would just be able to you want them to get really well?
Live your life on your terms. That's the greatest gift that you can give to yourself. I think so many people, because of social media and all the noise that we have out there, we feel like we're less than, or what those things are, the imposter syndrome that shows up for some people. But at the end of the day, when I am super clear about my vision for the world and my values, then everything can just be noise. It's like static that sits out there. It's not that I don't hear it. It's that I don't give it value or credence in my life. And so when you do that, I think you're going to be able to lay your head on your pillow whenever that maker calls you home to go, that was a good life, right? And so I just don't want people to have the regret at the end of their life to say, I could have done more. That, at least for me, is the greatest fear. I don't fear failure. I don't have imposter syndrome. My fear is I could have done more. I left it all. And that's the gift that I want to try and give people. Go live your life on your terms. Just get real clear on it first, which means you have to be reflective and you have to be authentic and vulnerable to be able to do that. Not just like half vulnerable, not half vulnerable. Boom. Own your life and your life will come back to you in spades.
Oh, amen to that. Now, I do have a request.
Do it.
When you are, I don't know, we'll give you more time. When you are 95 and you are laying in that hospital bed and you do decide to count the holes in the tile, could you track the number and let us know?
I'm in.
Okay.
I'm in.
Because that's overachieving right there. That is going for it all the way to the end.
Amen.
So
I should have kept track.
How would people be able to track you down? You know, if there's a lot of noise and they want to tune out the noise, but maybe they want to hear from Jerry and get Jerry Mack's noise, how do they turn up the noise on you? How do they find you?
Let's do it. Three really good places to find me. One is provenchaos.com. That's the corporate website. I also have my own live show, Best Places to Lead. And Thomas is going to come join us in
next month, I think.
Next month, 6
Yes.
weeks, something like that.
You're so busy. I mean, getting on your schedule, it's virtually impossible. The man is that busy.
It is humbling, Thomas. I will tell you that. It is super humbling. So bestplacestolead.com is another place where you can see all of our previous episodes. And, you know, I would tell you, if you go back to the beginning of the show, being able to listen to the 9 principles of personal performance and the business acceleration model, those are 2 really great places to start. We've had amazing guests as well, as I'm sure you will be on that show too. And then we're super active on LinkedIn. So you can find me, Jerry McNamara, on LinkedIn. That's where I put a lot of our micro content and then my own thought leadership that I get to speak with CEOs every week. And so I put insights that I've learned that week and things that I'm thinking about to get people to go like, oh, interesting. I've never thought about that before. Because if I'm the only one that learns, boy, that's not a good way to scale.
No, it's not. And the fact is, you are bringing proven techniques to market. You're bringing the ability to get out of the ruts. And, you know, as a business owner who has had to survive his own ruts, it's never fun. And, you know, many of the principles that you've talked about are just spot on. You know, you may not see it because you're in a rut. You may not see it because you've been in the business for so long and you just can't see beyond, you know, you can't see beyond the weeds that you're hanging out in. But Jerry, you've really brought it. I thank you so much for joining us today. I think that you've done an excellent job bringing the noise. Turn it up, bring the noise. And I look forward to being on your show. And if anyone is interested in meeting with Jerry, hearing from Jerry, working with Jerry as you should, taking your business or your life to a new level, please don't hesitate to reach out because waiting is a sin.
Amen. Thomas, thanks for having me. This was super fun.
Absolutely. Thank you again.